Hey y'all, and Happy TLC Tuesday. So I had uploaded a video last week for today, and I loved the video. I loved talking about what I was talking about, but after I sat down and I thought about it, and I realized I'm not ready to share that intimate of a part of myself yet, especially because I have not processed it completely. I don't believe that I'm fully removed enough from the situation to speak on it with 2020 hindsight. And the last thing that I would ever want to do is speak on something prematurely or incorrectly without doing it the justice that it deserves. So that being said, I still want to talk about NPD or narcissistic personality disorder. I just don't want to talk about it in the context of my personal experience with it as far as the story goes. But I will throw in my own little blurbs of my personal experience with it. We're just not going to get too deep into that. Okay, so what is narcissistic personality disorder, otherwise known as NPD? A disorder in which a person has an inflated sense of self-importance. We use the word narcissist a lot today in society, in our culture. We overuse the word. We meet somebody that gaslights or is manipulative or maybe conceited, and we immediately go, oh, you must be a narcissist. And narcissistic people, they are conceited, they do manipulate, and they do gaslight, but that's not all that it takes to be a narcissist. There's a lot more criteria to it. There's reasoning behind why these people are the way that they are. Usually it has something to do with something going wrong in their childhood where they did not get the amount of attention that they desired. So now that they're adults and they have not healed, they go into the world and they seek that validation from others. They're generally very insecure deep down, but in order to push that insecurity down, they project that they are much bigger than life than they really are. Having NPD means you have an excessive need to impress others or feel important. As I said, I generally have seen this more with people that have had a parent that neglected them. They didn't get the attention that they needed at home, so now they're out in the world seeking that validation from everybody else. And it is dangerous, to say the least. So that need to impress others or feel important can be so strong that it can be harmful to yourself and others based off of your behaviors. So what do I mean when I say harmful behaviors that may harm you or others around you? What I mean is behaviors like gaslighting, not being truthful, crossing people's boundaries, other things that fit into these categories of harmful behaviors. Now, I mentioned gaslighting. What is gaslighting? Gaslighting is basically making somebody question their own reality. So let's say, for example, I have this water bottle right here. I have it in front of your face. And you turn your head just slightly to the right. You can't see it anymore. It's out of your sight. While your head's turned, I move this water bottle and I put it over here. You turn back and you go, oh, I thought you had a water bottle there just a moment ago. No, I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. What water bottle? I don't have a water bottle. Crazy. I turn my head back slowly, slightly. Next thing I know, I look back, there's that water bottle again. Wait a minute. Didn't I just say that you had a water bottle in your hand and you said that you didn't have one in your hand and now you have one in your hand? No, I didn't. What are you talking about? I never said that I didn't have a water bottle. You can see the water bottle right here in front of your face. What are you talking about? That's a prime example of gaslighting. I keep moving the goalpost. I keep doing something different that's making you question your reality because it's like, you saw it. I told you you didn't. Then you believed that, and then I brought it back, and then I got you to believe again that I never said the lie to begin with. Like, gaslighting is so dangerous. And that's a simple example, but how deeply it can mess with your sense of self when it's done to you on a daily basis, it is not even funny. The main idea or the main harmful behavior that I want to address in this video is the crossing of boundaries. Because a lot of the manipulations fall under crossing boundaries. Gaslighting is crossing boundaries. Lying is crossing a boundary. Cheating is crossing a boundary. A lot of the behaviors that narcissists show to others are generally under the guise of just crossing your boundaries all around. So again, as far as the crossing of boundaries, they may go as far as gaslighting, which I just gave you a prime example of that. Lying, triangulation, which is involving a third party that may not know the full truth, just to have them weigh in and agree with the manipulator's point of view. Overall, narcissists' struggles with boundaries are rooted in a complex mix of insecurity, entitlement, and a limited ability to empathize. So the main reason why these people have such an issue with crossing your boundaries is because of the fact that they are insecure, they are entitled, and they have a limited ability to empathize. What do I mean by a limited ability to empathize? Most well-rounded people have the ability to empathize with people, meaning I can put myself in your shoes and I can see how that would feel if it was done to me, good, bad, or indifferent. Narcissists lack the ability to do that. They lack the ability to put themselves in somebody else's shoes and see it from their perspective or their point of view. Not until they are the ones that are being done wrong are they able to see the gravity of others' actions. And even in that situation where they did experience the same feelings as you, they may still undermine your boundary and continue to do stuff that they would not want done to themselves because they're entitled. So, like, what's the importance of enforcing boundaries with a narcissist? Enforcing boundaries enables you to protect yourself from emotional harm, maintain control over your life, and foster healthier dynamics in both personal and professional relationships. So enforcing boundaries is not only going to be helpful to you with a narcissist, it's going to be helpful to you in your career. It's going to be helpful to you with your friends and your family, because having a lack of boundaries will affect every aspect of your life. Being a people pleaser that lacks boundaries will negatively impact every facet of your life. People feel as though, oh, people not liking me is a big deal. No, what's a big deal is you not liking you. And if you choose to people please for a very long time, eventually you will not like you because you have not done anything to ensure that you're happy. You have spent your entire life making sure others are. You can't live like that. You can try it. You can see how far you can take it, but eventually you will become spent. You will become spent, you will become exhausted, you will become very tired. So how can you possibly maintain boundaries with a person whose main goal is to trample them? We're going to go into Tabitha's opinion land, and then we'll talk about the opinion of the person that wrote the article that inspired this conversation. In my opinion, the best way to enforce your boundaries, to make them strong, and to show a person I'm not playing about my boundaries, is to have them already established off rip in the beginning. So before you go into a relationship with a person, if you have a boundary that you will not tolerate being cheated on, lay that boundary out. You will not tolerate lying. Lay that boundary out. You will not tolerate manipulation or gaslighting. Lay that boundary out. Lay out these boundaries in the beginning so that a person does not have that shadow of a doubt to say, Well, you never told me this before. You didn't tell me this was a problem or that this was a boundary that couldn't be crossed. And most of those things that I just listed off are obvious. Yeah, I didn't think I had to tell you that I don't want to be lied to, cheated on, or manipulated. But make those boundaries known off rip and stand on them. Have a boundary and a consequence that goes along with breaking that boundary. If you cheat on me, I will no longer want anything to do with you. I will leave you alone. Stand on that. Stand on that boundary, stand on that consequence. So the moment they cheat, you're out the door. You're done. Because if you undermine your own boundary and you let them cheat and then you let them continue to deal with you, guess what you just taught them? Not only will you undermine your boundaries, but they can continue to undermine your boundaries, and you don't stand strong on your boundaries. So like the kids say nowadays, stand on business. Stand on business from the beginning through the end. Ensure your boundaries are clear and unwavering. What does that mean? Clear and concise. Hey, no cheating. What's cheating? Cheating is flirting with another person. Cheating is blah, 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 blah. Yes, sometimes you actually have to lay down what your idea of the boundary is, because there are people out there that they have a whole different idea of what something is than what you were raised to believe. Some people believe cheating is just having sex with another person. Some people believe that cheating is looking at another person. Now, there's a ladder between those two. You have to choose where on the ladder you are. And you have to make that clear and concise. And again, if that person breaks that boundary, you need to have a consequence. And that consequence has to be followed no matter what the reasoning behind the disrespect or the boundary being broken is. So if you come to me and you say, well, I cheated because I got super drunk, and I got super drunk because my grandma just passed away, and boop, 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 boop. I'm sorry to hear that you're going through a hard time with your grandmother. I'm sorry to hear that, you're allowing alcohol to consume you, but I laid a boundary down with you already. You broke it. I'm going to follow the consequences. We're done. As much as it might hurt to say, we're done. I hate to tell you, if you don't follow through, they're going to follow through and continue to cheat on you. Narcissists will thrive on any shadow of a doubt within your boundaries, so don't leave any for them to grab onto. So, just like I said, you got to make your boundaries firm, clear, and concise. That's why you got to make them firm, clear, and concise, is so that they don't have a shadow of a doubt to run with. Well, you said no cheating, but in my definition, cheating is having sex, and all I did was make out with this girl. All I did was hold hands and take them on a date and do this and do that and do all the other stuff that comes along with the relationship. But I did not go as far as to have relations with them. My boundary was clear and concise. I told you not to even look at her, and you took her on a date. So, I'm going to follow the consequences. You got to go. Prepare yourself for resistance on your boundaries from the narc. Prepare yourself for an argument, but don't argue. Don't get emotionally invested in it. And what do I mean by that? Just stand on your boundary. Don't allow them to try to guilt trip you. Don't allow them to try to get you emotionally worked up so that way your boundary doesn't sound like it's the main topic of discussion, because that's what it is. The boundary is the main topic of discussion, and a narcissistic person will talk you in circles to try to get you to forget what even the point of the conversation was, so you forget your boundary. Don't let them get you emotional. They come in, they start trying to guilt trip you. Look, I hear you, but this is the boundary. It's been the same boundary since the beginning. It's going to be the same boundary in the end. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. We have nothing to argue about. I laid my boundary down. It is to be respected, and that is that. End of story. Narcissists feed on chaos and emotional reaction, so you cannot let them see you sweat. They will attempt to exhaust you to the point where you cross your boundaries. And they will. Narcissists are exhausters. They love to see how far they can take you, how close they can get you to your breaking point, how much they can exhaust you and get you to cave on what they want. You have to keep yourself alert. You have to keep yourself energized. You have to keep yourself on your P's and Q's at all times when you're dealing with a narcissist. You got to work overtime. You really do. Not only do you have to do your normal day job and go home and clean and do everything else that's part of your normal life, but you have to work overtime in order to protect your boundaries and not be manipulated. And it's a lot of work. And this is not a job you clock in and clock out of. As soon as you see that person, you got to protect your boundaries. The moment that you leave that person, you got to keep yourself level and remind yourself the next time I see them, I have to protect my boundaries at all costs. Take breaks. Because of what I'm explaining right now, all this exhaustion that can come from this, you need to take breaks. If this is your girlfriend or boyfriend, have a day or so that you just do you. You do self-care. You spend time with your friends. You talk to people. If you have a therapist or are seeking therapy, make that one of your breaks away from them. Every Wednesday night, I have therapy at 6 p.m. So from the time I go to work until 9 o'clock when I decide to come home, you don't talk to them. You don't text them. You don't allow them to get in and exhaust you any further, any other way. You turn your phone on, do not disturb, turn the phone off if that's what you got to do. Whatever you got to do to not be immersed in that person and their manipulation and the way that they think, remove yourself, rest, so that way when you go back into the situation where you do have to deal with that person, you're well rested. Because again, if they can catch you lacking, slipping, exhausted, tired, bags under your eyes, any of that, they're going to play on that. And if they see you sick, because exhaustion can lead to sickness. If they see you sick, don't let them see you down, no matter what. So yeah, get help with the fight. Have a therapist. Have a real friend that you can confide in that's going to be honest with you and tell you the nitty-gritty of the situation. Make sure you cultivate self-awareness and self-validation. Mindfulness. Taking time to understand the way that you feel on the inside. Taking time to see where your energy level's at. Taking time to go, okay, I just got upset about this thing. Was it worth being upset about? Was it not? If it's not, what do I do to avoid getting upset over this thing in the future? If it is, how do I fix it? All that. Remain aware of yourself. Validate your own feelings. Because the way you feel is valid. You do not need an explanation as to why you feel the way that you do. If you feel a way, you feel that way. Like I said earlier, do not be a people pleaser. Narcissists love people pleasers and they will feed off of it. They feed off of people pleasers and empathic people. I'm never going to tell you not to have empathy because empathy is so important and that's what separates us from them. But I will tell you this. Curb your empathy for the narcissist. Curb it. That doesn't mean don't have any. Curb it. Because if you go into this situation having all this empathy for a person that has none for you or others, good luck. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be that much harder. Because that's what they play on. They know that you have the empathy and they don't. Assertiveness involves clearly expressing your limits without aggression. Be assertive with these people. Lay your boundaries out. Be assertive. You don't have to be aggressive. Those two don't, just because they both start with an A does not mean that they got to mean the same thing. Use I statements to convey your boundaries firmly, focusing on how their behavior impacts you rather than criticizing them. If you grew up with I care cat, you learn this at a young age. Use I statements. I statements take accountability for how I feel. You statements are blaming. Establish your boundaries with everybody, not just narcissistic people. If you're a people pleaser, try to establish boundaries with people that are not narcissistic first. They are going to be easier for you to set boundaries with, where they will actually accept them and validate the fact that you have a right to have boundaries. I think that a lot of us forget that. I have a right to have boundaries. I think that we feel as though if we have boundaries, that means we're entitled. No. One thing about it, two things for sure. Whatever boundaries you have that are not to be crossed, whatever standards that you have set for yourself, you're not asking too much. Okay? There's a reason why you feel the way you do. There's a reason why your standards are where they're at. Don't feel as though, oh, I'm asking for too much. No. No, you're not. You're asking for what you know you deserve. I hope that this conversation has been helpful to anybody that's dealing with somebody with narcissistic personality disorder, or just somebody in general that's manipulative, or if you're having trouble just setting boundaries. I hope that everybody has a beautiful TLC Tuesday. Let's kill this week.